Well, welcome to the 21st edition of Rotary Clubs of Ojai Living Treasures. I'm glad to see you all. Appreciate your coming. Um, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and the first thing we do is an invocation. One more day to serve, one more minute to praise, one more hour to love. For this, we are grateful. This is a Rotary event, so we'll do the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Does it build goodwill and better friendships? Is it beneficial to all concerned? Now, the agenda is that I will say a few words about living treasures, and so you'll all understand the concept. And then Brett Bradigan will say a few words. And then I will introduce the people on my committee, the Treasures Committee. And after that, we'll hear a few words from the people that were inaugurated last year. They can say what they did with their treasure year. And after that, we'll have the new treasures who will be introduced, but explain why they were chosen. But they won't say anything this year. So Living Treasures has evolved. It was conceived by Sanford Drucker when he was in the infantry in the Aleutians in Alaska in World War II. There was a high mortality in this part of the war. As a matter of fact, he was wounded himself. And he wanted to, when he got back from the war, promote goodwill and good fellowship and good health in the world. He did this, and for the first several years, they had meetings. And eventually, Living Treasures began in 1995. At that point, Living Treasures of Ojai was the name of that. And in the year 2002, Rotary took it over. And I've been the chair ever since. Can you hear me? So this is the 21st year that Rotary has been doing treasures. Sanford passed away in 2011. His legacy lives on through Rotary. His wife, Christine, has been named a living treasure. There are really two Rotary clubs in Ojai, the Tuesday Club and the Friday Club. Treasures Committee is a joint committee between the two clubs. It's called Rotary Clubs of Ojai Living Treasures. The website is rcolt.org, and one can find it easily through the Google. The first year, the treasures had to agree to do a treasure project, but now all the treasures are doing a lot of projects, and their job is to just be themselves. So the criteria for being a treasure is to be a role model and a leader in one's field, and be very interested in community service. That's what it's about. If one makes a huge contribution to the community, even though it was part of their job to do that, that's another way to become a treasure. Thomas Edison would have been a treasure on that basis. The treasures are featured one at a time in the Ojai Valley News. The treasures are invited to ride in the Independence Day Parade, see Kathy Doubleday, and Martin the Balloon Music in the Park. During the summer, we've created a lapel pin called Treasures, and if you don't have one, come and get one. And the treasures get a certificate and a lapel pin when they're today. So Now I'm going to give the microphone over to Brett Bradigan.
Thanks, Dr. Faber. Could we all give him a hand? He does so much for this community. I'm going to have to pull this mic out, I think. That's a little better. So my job is to encourage everyone to submit people for nominations for treasurers. Every year, we, on the committee, say, how's this year's crop looking? I think of it as like a crop. And really, that's a fitting metaphor, analogy, because we want these seeds to be planted and nourished and cultivated in our community. And, you know, Napoleon said that people will fight harder for a tiny piece of ribbon than they will any amount of money. And this is just a pin and a piece of paper. Really, that's all there is to it. But the spirit that goes into that, we think that's worth fighting for and worth earning our recognition in the community. And so as you go around your business and you see the kind of people who come to these events and to these places first and who leave last and are hauling chairs away, and people who are always the ones that kind of fade in the background when it's time to take credit, I think those, you know who they are. Nominate them. And there's somebody like that who, believe it or not, has never been a treasurer in the 29 years that we've been doing this. So part of the reason is he is our chairman of the committee. So we have had to create a special recognition for Dr. Faber, the Sanford Drucker Lifetime Achievement Award. Dr. Faber, would you come up here? I can tell you a little bit about Dr. Faber, and then Dr. Gross, who's been a close colleague for decades, can also talk a little. But Dr. Faber is my doctor, and the fact that I'm still here, I think, is worthy. That's worth a certain amount of recognition. In fact, I had a heart attack back in 2010. I just had terrible indigestion. I went into Dr. Faber's office, and he had me in an emergency room, and they had a stent in my heart, and I was in the ICU, and all within like 45 minutes. So I think this is a living treasure right here. Yeah. Dr. Gross, you want to say a few words? Turn it around. There you go. Just keep me out of the photo. Yeah. All right. Is it my turn? Yeah. Congratulations. Thank you. Well deserved.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege to share my experiences with Dr. Fred. There are a few things you might not know. This will be a series of little vignettes. Fred is tougher than shoe leather. He had open heart surgery and was back seeing patients in 1 week. He would run 3 miles every morning and swim laps in his unheated swimming pool, summer and winter. Shortly after his recent hospitalization, I picked him up for lunch, and he was waiting on the steps in front of his house, having had walked laps prior to my arrival around his yard. Fred's passions include Living Treasures and the American Heart Association. He has hosted the Living Treasures board meetings for years. Coffee, fruit, rolls, all served on fine china, with Shirley's high-fiber granola. 1 dose of that wonderful concoction, and you were regular for a month. He also sponsored many receptions at his house and was a very generous host. In the hospital, I was seeing a patient in rounds one morning, and the patient kept looking at the curtain behind me, and he wasn't really making eye contact, and he kept going like this, and I followed his gaze, and there was a dog snout lifting the lower edge of the curtain. And it was Fred's Weimaraner who did rounds with him. One day, well, of course, every Friday, if you knew Fred and his Mustang convertible and his red cap, those were his signature moves. We used to own a home health agency on Bristol and Ojai Avenue. And we had a rather nervous receptionist who would see Fred wearing his red cap and his Mustang convertible on his way to Rotary at Soul Park each Friday. This one day he slowed down, and in fact he drifted off the road and slumped forward. The receptionist was ready to speed dial 911, and it turned out he remembered something and was dictating into his recorder when we ran over to him. I want to wish many thanks to Renee, her husband Dolan, and their family for their loving care of this wonderful man. Fred, you truly are a living treasure. I can think of no one more deserving for this first lifetime award. We are all better having known you. Thanks, Fred.
Thank you, Brett and Carl. So now we'll go on and first of all introduce my committee. As I say, the Treasures Committee is combined of the two clubs. First is Steve Adams, who's a photographer extraordinaire. And as a matter of fact, he videotapes this reception, and your family in Kansas can go online, the website, and view the video. It's very high quality and very high, you can hear it, neat. Brett, oh, is he here?
Introduce Dr. Sims.
Oh, yes, I think I'll introduce Dr. Sims. Ray?
Okay. Well, good afternoon, and first of all, congratulations to the new living treasures that we'll hear more about shortly. And Fred, congratulations on retirement and for your Lifetime Achievement Award. I just, wanted to speak a little bit from the physician side of things. First of all, unless you've done it, the long journey to become a physician, including college, medical school, residency, and fellowship, is a very tedious and strenuous one. And unless you've lived it, you may not understand it all. Coming here to Ojai to practice, including primary care, critical care, and geriatrics, Fred was extremely busy and obviously very successful. I came here in 1983, and we spent innumerable hours in hospital committee meetings, ICU meetings, respiratory therapy department meetings. And again, you may not think that this is that big a deal. It's part of your commitment, but it's a gift, all that time being spent to help improve the care of everybody here in town. Fred was obviously very dedicated to attending the meetings. I think he had a perfect attendance record for most of those things. And of course, we've already heard about his participation in Rotary and Living Treasures. And for several years, I worked with him in the American Heart Association run here, which he has worked on diligently for years and years. And along with having other kinds of community participations, including the kid runs on July 4th and the Continuing Care Center runs. And Fred's been dedicated to helping treat heart disease for his entire professional life. And again, I want to just say the amount of limited free time that you have when you're practicing busy kinds of medicine like we did, Fred spent on community services and not for his own personal activities. So this is also difficult to do when you never know when the phone's going to ring and you're going to be called out to go to the hospital for an emergency process. Dr. Gross and Fred and I are kind of the last of the Mohicans as far as the people taking care of, the doctors taking care of you in the office, but also in the hospital. And I remember going back and forth between my office and the hospital and seeing Fred doing the same multiple times. So I just want to summarize and say that Fred, you've given a tremendous amount of your life to medicine. I think 48 years, is that correct? And so it is very fitting that you receive this honor for all the services you've done for the community, and particularly for the medical services. You've been steady and reliable to all your patients and worked very diligently to improve community health and your patients' health. So we all owe him a great debt of gratitude for his many years of work. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ray. I'm honored. I was in business, and Dr. Sims, who grew up in Ojai, finished his training and came and we shared call, practiced together for decades. He's retired also now. So thank you. So we're getting into my committee. So yeah, we had Steve Adams, the photographer extraordinaire, Brett Bradigan, publisher of Ojai Quarterly and Ojai Monthly, Mike Caldwell, rancher, former president of Tuesday Club, and he is active delivering Meals on Wheels twice a week. Kathy Doubleday, founder and owner of physical therapy office Balance, very active in Rotary. Dr. Carl Gross, who's just here, is a retired, long-time Ojai family practitioner, past president of the Friday Club, and now here, that was 20 years ago. Now again, in June of 2023, he's taken on the presidency of the Friday Club again. And Al West, senior forest ranger, part of his job was to manage the forest rangers throughout the nation from Washington, D.C. Connie Biggers, very active in education in Ojai Valley and Oakview Women's Club. And Renee Hallbrook, my daughter and a Friday Club Rotarian. As I say, I want to recognize Steve Adams. He is quite a photographer. The next part is to call up the treasurers who were brought in last year and have them say a few words about their passion and what they did during their Rotary year. The first is Deirdre Daly. She has a number of interests, and among them, if you have a business and you need someone to be the foreman of the business, she can find someone for you that's compatible with both you and the job. And she has, I say, many interests. So Deirdre, why don't you say a few words?
Thank you, Dr. Favre and the committee. I have very little to say for a change. I'm kind of unprepared. I just want to say thank you. I'm honored to be in such good company. I love that my work and my community service overlaps. I love my organizations like Help of Ojai, Rotary Club, and the Hospital Guild, and I'm grateful to be in such good company. Thank you.
Yes, Deidre now has a life of service. Now Judith Norris has moved to Ojai 10 years ago, and she had a distinguished career as an attorney. And now that she's been here 10 years, when one looks at all the things she's done, one comments that she's done more in 10 years than most people do in a lifetime. That includes the hospital and the music festival, and I'm going to have her say a few words.
So this is just the most beautiful afternoon to celebrate Fred and all of the new living treasures. Now, when Fred called me to ask me to give very brief comments, so I have notes, so I'll be brief, about my year as a living treasure, my first thought was my immense gratitude for the honor and gratitude that our Ojai community welcomes volunteers with open arms. This inclusive Ojai spirit gave me the opportunity to work with wonderful organizations who daily serve the needs of our Ojai neighbors. Fred said several of the ones. I also am so happy to be with the Ojai Women's Fund, the Music Festival. I work with Hadi for the Community Memorial Hospital. And also, what is so special is what we're doing is Operation Picasso, where we're bringing in just beautiful artwork to help everyone in the hospital to get better quicker. But speaking from my heart, I think of the Living Treasure spirit as embodying a big tent approach where we welcome everyone and their unique contributions. At a time when you read daily that our society has become polarized, excuse me, I found that any differences, real or imagined, can be easily set aside when everyone is collaboratively seeking common cause on how to make a positive and powerful impact in the Ojai Valley. I love this big tent approach and plan to promote it in all that I do going forward. Thank you all so much.
We have a lot of talent. Next, the Vargas sisters, Gabriela, Teresa, and Beatrice. Gabriela will say a few words.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege for me to speak to you all in behalf of my sisters and myself. First of all, thank you for the honor of being chosen as living treasures. As part of this wonderful community, we are ready to help in whatever there is and as much as we can. We have served at the shelter and fiesta, which we try to revive. It's still not there yet, but we hope we come back next year. And we try to get involved wherever is needed. My sisters and I usually work together as a family, and that's why if you get one of us, you get the three Vargas sisters involved. And we will continue to serve and be a part of the active community. As they say, it takes a village, and we are honored to be part of it. Thank you.
Very active in the Hispanic community. And then Johnny Johnston is a former mayor of Ojai. He was here when they cut the ribbon. I think that's where they cut it. So it used to be the church. Now it's the museum. Anyway, Johnny, are you here? Good.
Well, when Fred, I'm speaking into when Fred called me and asked me if I'd come and share my passion for community service, I wasn't quite sure what I would be doing, so I prepared several remarks, and now I look in the audience and say, I would be preaching to the choir. A lot of you are right in the same generation I am. And so I can tell you at this stage in life, after 70 years of service, both paid and unpaid, my first job was at 10 years of age when I was volunteered as one of my one of 6 siblings by my father. He didn't ask us for a vote, he just told us we were doing it. But we did enjoy it, and so I have spent a lifetime steered toward public service and the government. My degree was in political science, and I worked both with my father and later came to Ojai 52 years ago as the city manager. And I'm going to share just a quick story with you because I want to clear something up. When people tell you today it's the worst it's ever been, I can tell you, my father gave me a cartoon that I kept in my office when I was the CEO for Ventura County. And it's a picture of a man sitting in his chair with a small boy, and the caption read, "Remember this, my son, the world is always in the worst mess it's ever been in." Now, those aren't terribly encouraging words, but it kind of puts things in perspective. So what we're going through now, I came here and I was the 4th city manager in 6 months. Now, 2 of them were interim, but there was one that lasted all of 3 months. He was gray-haired and mature and left town saying the only trouble with Ojai is it's full of Ohioans. Yeah. And I just went right past the gray stage to nothing. But they called me up and gave me the job. And as I've told many people, it was the toughest job I ever had. 3 years in a 60-year career. But Ojai is a special place, and it stays a special place because of all the folks like you and others who take it seriously and they volunteer. But most of my career was devoted to professional management, and I managed 4 or 5 cities in the county of Ventura and was an operational manager for the LA Superior Court. So I had kind of a breadth of experience in that regard. And I am reminded when I think about this, something that I think we are in peril right now. It's kind of different than what we've had before, but it doesn't mean we can't deal with it. And Winston Churchill, after World War II, successfully leading the Allies, or helping with FDR lead the Allies through the war, he was voted out of office. And as he left, his famous quote was, "Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others that we have tried." And I think that still stands all these years later. It's not perfect, and there's never been a pure democracy, but the flaw in the system, or I shouldn't say the flaw, but the snag, the thing they don't tell you about when you're young, they say that democracy is great. Yes, it's self-government, and the catch is you have to do it yourself. And when people don't do it yourself, the Benjamin Franklin said as he left the Constitutional Convention after a hot summer in Philadelphia, a woman approached him and said, "Dr. Franklin, what have we got? A monarchy or a republic?" And he shuffled off saying, "We've given you a republic if you can keep it," because he knew the history of republics. They don't last if people don't participate. So that brings me just to the end. Another quote from Benjamin Franklin, who said, "Better done than said." So I'll quit saying and be done. But I would say to you, when I look at the, with no offense to anyone, the generation or the age group I am, that we are the people that were taught that the purpose of a public education was to create good citizens. I'm not sure that that is an emphasis anymore. And what a lot of the younger people don't understand, hopefully they will not learn it too late, is, Gandhi and others have been misquoted, but in general, his famous, what people attribute to Gandhi was, "You must be the change you seek in the world." But what that really means is you have to do it yourself and quit worrying about what the other guy isn't doing or not doing it the way you do it. So here we are, now, and what's got to be, and Bob Daddy's not here, but he and I, when we have breakfast, and he starts talking about all the problems, and I say, "Well, where shall we move?" And Bob always says, "Tell me where the next best place is, and I'll pack my bag." And so that Ojai is a wonderful place to be and a wonderful place to volunteer. And so after I retired, I came back and volunteered to be mayor of this fine town. And we did fairly well at keeping everybody civil. We're not doing as well as we have done, but I'm hopeful. And so I'm hoping you're hopeful too. And tell your kids what Rabbi Hillel is quoted as saying. Rabbi Hillel said, "If not me, who? If not now, when? I can't do everything, but I can do something, and I will." Now, when Fred was introducing, he said, how did you put it? We brought in the former treasurers. That sounds like a police briefing. We brought in the usual suspects. What we're here to do is to try to pass the baton and to get more people. And so what the Rotary Club and what Fred has devoted much of his life to is to reward and encourage people. Not really to fight over it, as Brett would say. If that's true, I hope nobody told the city council that, because they're really overdoing it. But so anyway, God bless us all, and God bless John Brazenly, a living treasure who's no longer with us. John is a longtime friend, a dear friend of mine, who we were kindred spirits in government, in politics, and in Ojai. And he passed to the next world about 3 or 4 days ago. So I'm glad that he was recognized, and Kathy was recognized, and all you good folks, Mr. West, is recognized for what they have done. So thank you for inviting me, Fred.
Thank you. Now we've worked our way up to the point where we are going to pass the baton and induct our new members. The new treasurers will be introduced by the mentors, who will say a few words about them. They will receive their certificates, which we'll jump up and give you, and also their lapel pin. As I say, if anybody needs a lapel pin, come and get it from me. And we'll explain why they were chosen as treasurers. Next year, they will tell us about their treasurer's year. Once they get up here, I want them to stay up here so we can get a group photograph of everybody, including the previous treasurers, before we disperse. Patty Bagley will be mentored by Connie Biggers. Yeah, we want both Connie and Patty.
Okay, well, first of all, good afternoon. And the second thing is congratulations to all the new 2003 treasurers. Welcome aboard. The journey begins, and maybe it's kind of like with Paul Harvey. When Dr. Favre said, keep it short, I said, well, you realize you're talking to the north wind. So bottom line is no notes. We shall see how this shall proceed. In Patty, I've known Patty for a few years, and they have been good years. But the important thing is, what about her history? She was born in Missouri and moved at a young age. She says at 1, and I don't know how she remembered this, but she said at 1 that she and her family moved to Culver City, where she attended the high schools, and I would assume graduate, attended UCLA, and then started her life working as a paralegal, and particularly with the Daniel Pearlman Foundation. Well, this is Paul Harvey. It is page 1. Now we will turn to page 2, and page 2 is, as I've said, I have known Patty for a few years. She has been a good friend. She definitely is a leader. She is a mentor, and she is a can-do person. And without further ado, let me introduce my friend Patty Biggers. Patty Bagley, I'm sorry. Wait, that will be page 3. Okay, thank you. Okay, and for you?
And the lapel pin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, she gets this. Okay, now have a seat right up here. Yeah. Yes. Been very active community service for a long time. Next is Kathy Doubleday, who will be introduced by me. Kathy's been very active doing community service for 30 years. She founded the Ojai Physical Therapy service called Balance. She's very active with actually the Tuesday Club is the one she's in, putting on their fundraiser and helping the Friday Club with its fundraiser. And she's an organizer and a quiet worker bee in the background. And we were all surprised she hadn't already been named a living treasure. So, oh, I should have had her come up. Here she is. Good. Good. So, oh yeah, as a matter of fact, she put on the refreshments for today here. Oh, thank you. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that's good. Oh yeah. Wait. She was raised in Fresno, California, and part of a big family. She was an athlete in high school and college, gymnastics and rowing, which is also called crew, and still very active. Next is Glenda King, who will be introduced by Mike Caldwell.
Good afternoon. It is my honor and my pleasure to introduce Glenda King. And she was nominated by two different people that are both over at Help of Ojai, Megan Teffler and Jane Walters. And I'm going to read one of their nominating committees. I just met Glenda on Saturday when she was volunteering at the Ojai Wine Festival, which she does a lot of volunteering in the community. But here's what Megan Teffler wrote. Glenda Cushing King is an exemplary member of the Ojai community. Glenda retired from Help of Ojai after 8 years as transportation director. During her tenure at Help of Ojai, she developed strong relationships with volunteer drivers, and help transportation clients. In her retirement, Glenda continues her service by becoming a help volunteer. As a prior staff member with knowledge of our services, she is an invaluable asset. She currently serves as a front desk volunteer. Her Friday morning shift is spent answering the phone, helping people obtain durable medical equipment and from the loan closet, and directing people to HELP's resources. During HELP's COVID-19 Great Plates program, Glenda loyally delivered meals to vulnerable seniors in the community multiple times a week. And a little excerpt there is that our Tuesday Club was very heavily involved in supporting that program too. So there was members from our club that worked with Glenda. Glenda is a yearly participant in Help of Ojai's Adopt a Family and Adopt a Seniors programs, ensuring that families and seniors in our community can celebrate the holidays. Outside of Help of Ojai, Glenda is involved in many other organizations that positively impact Ojai Valley residents. She is a member of the local chapter of PEO, Philanthropic Educational Organization, which promotes educational opportunities for women. PEO sponsors 1 to 2 scholarships to Nordhoff High School graduates every June. Glenda has served as the chapter president of PEO multiple times. Glenda served as the clerk of session and helps with child care at Ojai Presbyterian Church. She volunteers at the Ojai Valley Community Hospital Continuing Care Center. One of her chosen responsibilities at CCC is to help former transportation rider who does not have family in town to assist with important tasks, including buying his favorite chocolates from Rainbow Bridge. Glenda volunteers yearly at many events, including the Ojai Wine Festival, which I mentioned at the beginning, and the Ojai Hospital Foundation October Classic. So, with that, it is my pleasure to present this to you and your pin. Right, congratulations.
Yes, we have a lot of talent. Next on the list is Celeste Matasevac. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Who will be introduced by Al West. Thank you, Fred.
It's a real honor and for me to introduce this evening Celeste as one of this year's Living Treasures. Most people know Celeste for ownership and running of the bookstore Bookends with Marcia Doty. In 2018, Bookends was the Chamber's Merchant of the Year, and much of that was because of their hosting throughout the years many community events for several of the Ojai nonprofits. However, Celeste has been personally involved in several organizations in the Valley. The Bravo musical program was first started when Celeste was with the Ojai Music Festival. Also, she was on the staff of the Ojai Hospital Foundation when it first began. Celeste is also a longtime member of the Search Dog Foundation. Over 15 years she worked with them, traveling throughout the country, promoting the Search Dog Foundation as they were deployed. There are many other things Celeste has done to help others, including her work with the Continuing Care Center citizens, helping them write letters and so forth, and the ARC of Ventura County Enrichment Center. There are many more things, and she has a lot of people here this evening to support her for all she has done. Celeste, let me present you with pride a certificate naming you an Ojai Living Treasure. Good. You got to put that right up. Okay. Yeah.
Next, we have Sandy Buetchley, who will be introduced by our photographer, Steve Adams. You get this and a certificate.
I remembered my glasses this year. Anybody that's been to a nonprofit event or activity in Ojai has seen Sandy there. She's very, very active in the community. She moved here from Santa Barbara in 1964. When her children were ready to start school, she became the office manager at Monica Ross School and remained there for 6 years. Sandy later signed on as one of the first employees of the Ojai Valley Racquet Club, becoming the athletic club. And from a trailer, they gathered their first 100 members, started building tennis courts, the clubhouse, and how long were you there?
About 6 years. Yeah.
So quite an accomplishment. Sandy joined Rotary, the other Rotary Club, in 2015. She, that's what we refer to. She's attended and volunteered for the annual Ojai Tennis Tournament every year since 1965. Sandy has served on the board of the Ojai Land Conservancy since 2012 and is a past president and treasurer and the current vice president of the Conservancy. She previously served on the board of the Ojai Musical Festival for 5 years. But what has she done lately? Sandy retired from after 37 years from Patagonia as the manager of finance and information services. She currently serves on the board as the board president of Crew. And she recently has accepted an invitation to join the board of directors of the Monica Ross School cycle. So welcome. Thank you. Is this a certificate? Can we open it up?
Okay.
Fill it. Okay.
Closer together.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And there's a pen.
There's my pen. Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
She's actually been active in the Friday Club. Next, Allie Mills will be introduced by Dr. Carl Gross. Whoa!
What's this thing? Oop, there we go. High tech. Hi, Allie. Hi. How are you? I'm doing fine. You know, when we were talking about getting to know people, it just reminded me of The King and I, you know, the song Getting to Know You. And it was my distinct pleasure of getting to know Allie. We shared some coffee in front of Java and Joe's and got to know her a lot better. So my distinct pleasure to present our Living Treasures inductee, Allie Mills. Allie was born at Ojai Valley Community Hospital, delivered by another living treasure, Dr. Skanke, and raised in our valley. She attended San Antonio School, Nordhoff, and Chaparral. I guess they call it Legacy, but the people from Chaparral still call it Chaparral, right? It's always going to be Chap. Okay. She graduated in 1999, and hers is a story of struggle, personal challenges, and finally recovery through service to the Ojai community. After school, she lived with her grandparents, her mother, and shared many sofas with her friends. Through many life challenges, she found herself homeless and without many options. Two events forced her to change her lifestyle. Tragically, the death of two of her close friends on a motorcycle accident, and I used to call it the look that your mother would give you. Through her mother, who was overnight host of the Ojai Valley Family Shelter, she became an assistant, working her way to director of the Grange Hall facility. This was in 2020 at the very beginning of the pandemic. No challenge. No. The shelter, along with local churches, would open their doors in December to provide a safe, clean environment. The Grange Hall facility now offers year-round hosting, providing a safe place to sleep, food, and now a mobile shower van for the unhoused. It affords people a time out to sort out their problems and connect with resources. In her spare time, she works for the Ojai Valley News. She delivers about 450 papers a week and works in the circulation department, correct? Perhaps you know her mother, Colleen McDougall, cartoonist and contributor to the Ojai Valley News. Colleen was recently honored in our Ojai Rotary Club's 75th anniversary celebration. Allie, it is my pleasure to honor you with a Living Treasure certificate.
Can we take a selfie?
Sure, you can do it.
Well, I wanted to, my mom couldn't make it today because she's in Tennessee, so.
This is the next generation. She says, can we do a selfie?
Perfect.
All right. Thank you,
Can I
thank
also
you.
take a selfie of all you guys? Thank you.
Here you go, Ellie. Your pen. Congratulations. Ellie. Thanks, Beth.
So The new treasurers are invited to ride in the 4th of July parade. See Kathy Doubleday. And if there's anything I can do, give me a call. I'm available and will help you out. So unless there's any other new business, we'll have the photography done of the current, just inducted living treasurers, and also the last year's living treasurers come up so we can get everybody on film. So thank you all. We'll see you next year.